Yep. Alright, so I'm going to be working on making a new mallet head and kind of in between doing chat and that's going to be the end of my night. Um, Yo, this fucking stream manager is bullshit. It doesn't tell you. You can go green at any some point fucking time, you piece of crap. Have to refresh it 1,000 times. There we go. Ugh. Sometimes you have to have the software correct for it to actually function the way you would like it to. Right? Subpar software. That's what it is. That's what it's all about. Subpar software. So, what I have here is a mallet that the head has been shattered on. It's this one. And what I'm going to be doing is taking this block of wood and replacing the mallet. That way it fits on here. So I'm going to be using what's left of this one carefully to try and do this one again. So I made this a couple years ago. So we'll start by like marking it because this is tapered. So it sits so where when you swing it, it always tightens up. Right? You can see the taper on it. And the same thing happens with the block of wood. It's going to be larger at the top and smaller at the bottom. And then it has to slide down over the entire handle. The first thing to do is slide this down and figure out where I want it to be and end up, because that's how I'm going to lay it out. So we're going to come down here and I'm going to center it right about where I want it. Yeah. Right. So now I can transfer that with a square to the top and the bottom. And then I'll mark out the width of the hole. And we're going to clamp it in the vise and start taking chunks out. It's not going to be as easy on this thing. It's so small. Right. Something like that. Giving up stuff. Alright. I'm going to be a little bit on the inside of this line because I don't want to remove too much and then have it too loose. Can always take more off. You can't put it back. So the width of my handle is inch and 20 thousandths. I'll just say an inch. The 20 thousandths I can take out later. So if my overall block width is 240, that means I have 140 is 70 thou. Inch and 70 is half and 30. It's actually 570 on each end. So 570. You won't be able to see that, but I can. Basically right here. No, just double check it. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Double check it. It's going to be a little on the outside of the line. Okay. Yep. 5 and 70. Dude, I'm so tired of hearing these health commercials. You can get the fuck off of my YouTube, dude, is what you can do. Rushing fight. Go away. Shut your mouth. Ugh. How about that? How about I slam you with the get the fuck out? Alright, so we'll transfer this the rest of the way. I don't trust that that is actually... I lost this one. Now I can see it now because it's at a different angle. So that means we're here. And I'm okay for it being tight. Right? I actually need to be on the outside of the line, but we're going to work on not trying to take the line away. Or just taking it away. It's been opened enough. I don't know if I can open up. I'm not a birthday present. Alright, so most people clamp this in a vise that's wood on both sides. I don't really care. I just don't want to squeeze it super tight because I don't want to be crushing this while I have a chisel inside it. So any vise to hold it for me is going to work alright because I don't know where the wood vise is right now. And I can just support it. This is a 1-inch chisel. I don't know if I'm going to be at the angle I want to be at to swing this. We'll try it. I'm going to center that. You gotta remember, we're cutting smaller as we're going down. So just work back in little sections. This doesn't have enough weight in it like a full wooden head does. I might even go to a steel hammer for now, just to get some head on it. When it's a full head, it actually does what it's supposed to do. But it's whatever. So we just keep kind of cutting in this pattern all the way back. Now the trick is to not, if you're doing like decorative fine woodworking, you don't want to go and rock on that corner because you'll tear it up. I need a better hammer. I don't have no swing on that. Is that in shot, I guess, before I get rolling, because I'll keep going and I won't stop. But I want to make sure it's at least in shot. Phantoming. Yep, no problem. Better work however get it done. I don't know what KK is. Yeah, just work this back. Usually, when you get to the end, to clean it up, you're going to spin the chisel around the other way. Come straight down to, but I leave the end until I'm ready to clean up the end. But not on this end. So I want to keep this angle just slightly, because I don't want to be cutting straight down. If I was close enough, you could hear the fibers snap. But that's actually a very satisfying thing, hearing all of them break. This would be a lot more pleasant if it was a wooden hammer, because it wouldn't be so pingy. Which it will be once this is done. Mahogany kind of cleans up a lot nicer. You don't have these snaggly fibers like you do on oak. Oak is always kind of like really sticky. And when it's fresh, oak reminds you of the smell of baby vomit. Is one way to identify what the wood is. It's kind of a thing. Such a tight hole, it's hard to get that in there. Let me just use that to clean it out. and just keep working down. I'm going to go a good bit, and we'll stop probably just shy of halfway. The further you get down in here, the harder it kind of gets to cut. Sunday bench. I see your name granted from my lips. You never want to take too much of a bite, especially if you're working with a smaller chisel, because you probably will break the edge off of the chisel in the process. So this is not a rushy job. We're just taking little uniform bites out of it. Just like that. I never really liked chiseling oak. It's kind of ugly. To me, the only thing oak serves a purpose for is like car jack stands. Like you put it underneath a jack stand so you don't punch a hole through asphalt. Let's say if I hated a wood, it would be oak. So now the side of our little mortise here is starting to get really grippy. Separate those fibers. Can actually be a little see how it's kind of slowed down a little bit because it's really tight, but you can see pretty much how clean it looks, and it'll get cleaner once I get closer to the end, because the hole needs to be 1 inch and 20 thousandths, actually a little larger than that, because while this sits in the shop and the seasons change, this wood will get tighter and shrink. So we actually probably want to be more around like 140 to 160. What I'll do is I'll put a little bit of mineral oil on it so it doesn't absorb the moisture as much. This is kind of fun. That's why, see how it kind of rolls this edge, if you can, maybe not. Let's bring the camera closer. And then it'll be a little more pleasant. Right. I think it'll be out of my way there. And I always make one cut here in the back that turn the opposite way. And then we start making our little cuts. Still can't kind of see in the hole, but reflection. I remember this was a pain in the butt last time I did it, because when you get down inside here, the sides really get to be a pain in the butt. So sometimes you can come in here and clean up this edge just slightly. But we'll need to run this just a touch. Oh, wiggles. There we go. All right. And we're only like a quarter of the way done, but it is a little bit of a long process. But when it's done, it makes a really nice surface that's at the right angle for swinging for a very long period of time. And it's not got a whole lot of weight to it, so it's not much fatigue in it. Especially if you have a wooden-ended chisel like these ones. I wouldn't want to go smacking this with a metal hammer because I'm going to split it. But if I hit it with a wooden one, it's not so bad for it. And that's why it has that ferrule wrapped around the end too. Eventually, when I get a wild hair at my butt, I wanted to make my own set of chisels from scratch. But I have the rest of my life to do that. I don't really need them right now. Probably could get that. I don't know. Anybody want to be closer to that so you can see it more? I think we could probably do it. I don't know how clear it's going to be. We can probably come in just a little more. And get it right in there. Right. It's tapering down. Tons of fun right here. I need to clean up the ends because it keeps turning my chisel sideways. actually really wide for a mortise of what I'm doing. Not much on the outside. Used to doing ones that are about a quarter or a half inch. But I've done ones as wide as like 2 inches. Just depends on what you're making. I think we're about ready to flip it. I'm going to come in here with a little bit nicer chisel and clean up some of this side. Alright, let me do something about the edge of this. Shouldn't bite so bad. Yeah, much better. Go just a little bit more and then I'll flip it over. We gotta slow up when we get right to meet both the holes because we don't want to shatter anything. That's where you can make a mistake. So I'm going to cut down this way a little more. Kind of, it's been what? It's probably been, God, at least 5 years since I've had to really do woodworking seriously. But usually if you cut on this far end down a ways, it's a lot easier and you can take larger chunks. So that's what I'm going to kind of do is just work just this end over here down to a depth, and then I can really crack some of this out of here. And take maybe a half-inch bite instead of like 300 thousandths. gets hard to put your fingers in there. Alright, flip it over and work the other side. I'm kind of letting it go all the way against the bottom of this vise, that way it can't move down on me. But obviously putting it in a metal vise like this is going to mar up the sides, so you wouldn't want to do this if you were making like a piece of furniture. You'd want to have two other pieces of wood in here. Keep it from putting these grooves in it, but I'm going to end up beating the crap out of it anyway, so. Sorry, didn't mean to clear my throat like in the microphone. I apologize. Watch yourself, you better watch yourself. Yeah. Things around. To break a psychic down. Deep 6 feet deep. The first one is the slowest pass, just to make sure that everything's where it's supposed to go, and then it speeds up. Things around, and they know, ding, standing and break a psychic down. Six feet deep. Watch yourself. His evil, con his confidence, here is a saw. Sin is sincere, love is evil, con his confidence, here is a saw. Sin is sincere, is evil, con his confidence, here is a saw. Sin is sincere, con his confidence, here is a saw. Sin is sincere. You better watch yourself. This side, for some reason, feels a lot tougher because it's the inside of the tree. This is more toward the center of the tree. This was the outside of the tree. So the rings were larger. These are more dense and also more hardened with time. So they're a little tougher. It obviously takes a little bit more of a swing to cut through it. If this was, usually these heads are made of birch. I don't have that. I didn't make the last one out of birch. But it probably would have lasted longer if it was. I just don't have it available to me. So I use what I have. Got a date with Sue. So scary. Clean up this end and it'll make it a little easier to cut this. Alright. It's gonna be too big of a bite to take. But always leave this last edge undone until you're just about ready to finish it because you're going to roll that edge. And it doesn't matter if it covers, whatever you're putting on it covers, but if it doesn't cover it, then you don't want to see like it smashed down. This is a really super deep mortise to do. But it's good practice. In doing this, you'll learn a lot before you actually start doing mortise and tendon joints, because obviously, if you mess this up and split the freaking head of it, then you still got some more practice to do, because you weren't patient enough to take your time. I can't believe how tough this is over here. And this oak has really done a number on the sharpness of my cutting edge. So I need to make a few passes and just hone it real quick, because I need it to cut. I gotta take this sweatshirt off. But I think all these, yeah, I don't have a machine to do any of these joints like this. The mortise and tendons, all these are done by hand on just about every piece of furniture that I've ever made. Oh, well, yeah, on every piece of furniture I've ever made. Like all the frames for like wine cabinets and stuff like that are all done by hand. Obviously, they make machines with a square bit. So it's a square outside, like a shell, and it has sharp edges on it, and it mounts in a mortising machine, which is like a drill press. And then there's a round drill bit that's inside of it. And as you force it down through, it cuts a square hole, but it also drills. They do a nice job, really quick. It's definitely not as satisfying as doing it this way. I don't want to catch that, so take another cut here. I can't believe how hard this side is compared to the other side. This is probably like 10-year-old oak, as in since it's been cut, not like the age of the tree. There's about 30 rings on this piece of oak, so it was probably a 200-year-old oak or a 150-year-old oak when it was cut down. It's kind of a thing I don't feel like. You can practice this with pine, because I hate for people to like try and practice on good wood. Like if a tree's grown that long, that's something you should really maximize your project with and have minimal waste, because it took a long time for that tree to grow. Like some of this wood has beautiful grain in it. Like I have a tree here that's actually like an African fruitwood tree. It's called Jatoba. It smells delicious, and it has beautiful grain in it. Like if you can see the dark grains, this is gorgeous wood. It's very forgiving, and it wasn't that expensive. I think I got 4 board feet for like $30. But a lot of that exotic wood has some really cool smells to it when you cut it or crack it open. Like some of the mahoganies have like a cinnamony or a nutmeg smell to them. And then obviously the Spanish cedars. Each cedar has its own smell. But you got to be careful with the cedar because of the dust. You don't want to be breathing that stuff in. It's pretty nasty. And it is bitter as heck to get in your mouth. Woods like oak, ironwood. They have one wood, I forget what it was called, and it's like got a lot of sap in it. I had a piece of it. It's one of the hardest woods. It will knock the edge off of your freaking tools very quickly. They use it for flooring because it doesn't really wear. It almost looks fake when you look at it. It looks like someone made a composite. It doesn't even really look like wood because the resin pockets are super huge. There was a book I bought years ago, just because sometimes I like to buy books and read them, but I like books with pictures. I don't really get much off of the words. And this book has all the woods, not all the woods, it's missing a few, I noticed, but a good chunk of all the different types of woods that there are. And it's pretty neat to see different things, because then it kind of gives you an idea of if you want to do a project, what type of wood you would want to make it out of, and what the characteristics are of that wood. A lot of people think they can take a piece of wood from outside and make inside furniture with it, and that's not the case. And you can't do it the other way either. You don't want to take wood that's been indoors and use it on outside because of the expansion changes and the moisture content in the wood. That's the big thing. Usually you let it acclimate. A lot of woodworkers will buy wood and let it acclimate in their shop because they make furniture with the wood and they want it to dry out to a specific moisture before they work it. Sometimes I'll let it sit for years before they even touch it. That's why when I go buy wood, I go to old guys that took their wood to a lumber mill. They cut down a tree. So they fell this tree themselves, sealed the ends, let it sit, and then took it to a mill, and it's been air drying for years in a building. This one guy I went to had a bunch of buildings. I mean, this guy was probably 65, 70 years old, and he had a bunch of these buildings with all this different wood stacked up in it. Like, I thought it was a garage, right? Like it was a bunch of garages for cars. And here, it wasn't. It was just rooms full of wood that he had. Some of this wood was freaking massive. But it was awesome to see like the collection just in unworked wood that he had. Because a lot of this stuff is really thick. Some of it was about as thick as this. This would be considered an 8/4 board because it's 8/4 2 inches, which is 8/4, right? That's how you usually, when you go buy wood, not from Lowe's, like this one here, if you can see, is 4/4 because it's 1 inch, right? Because it's 4/4 wide. A lot of stuff you can buy as 5/4 because it allows you to plane or have it milled and take off that outside layer that is discolored and aged. Or maybe you want to make it 5/4 or just slightly under. But obviously the thicker the quarterage, the more expensive because it's hard to get wood that wide that doesn't crack. So then it becomes very difficult to dry it correctly. You got to think how much longer it takes to get all the way down through that wood to dry that wood out. Okay, we need to clean up the edge because it's really tight on my side here. And it's biting my chisel. Alright, I think we're like 75% through. This side is extremely slow. If this was a piece of mahogany, I would have been done already. It doesn't take long at all to cut through that. A lot of people make, apparently it's a big thing now to make porches out of mahogany. Seems really expensive. I know for 3 boards, I paid almost $300 for genuine mahogany. Over 300 actually, last year alone. And that was just to replace trim on a vehicle. I dropped it. I dropped it. At least I'm not in flip-flops. Do you really have to pay for YouTube for them to quit shutting the freaking songs off? Is that really a thing? It's a pain in the butt, dude. I'm gonna find my freaking CDs, and I'm gonna put them in, and that's gonna be the end of it. I'm not gonna have to worry about anything ever again. Kind of hear that pop, probably. Satisfying break. I would never yank on my other chisel like this. This one's for woodworking, but not for like really high detailed stuff. This is kind of like a really crappy one. That just flung out of there. should loosen up here. It's real. Anger management group. I don't think people would need anger management if people wouldn't do so much stupid shit. Oh, thank you for your tiny branded water bottle. That is pretty funny. It's a good commercial. Tiny branded water bottle. He's an artist. Do what? Oh my god. Who freaking came up with that commercial? Run on for a long time. Run on for a long time. Sooner or later, gotta cut you down. Sooner or later, gotta cut you down. Now that long time lie, going till that midnight rider. Back burner. Tell the God's gonna cut 'em down. Tell the God's gonna cut 'em down. My goodness gracious, let me tell you, your nose has been wet with a midnight blue. Bending knee, talking to the man from Galilee. In a voice so sweet that they're the shuffle of angels' feet. Name and hearts that tell. Said, God, go do my will. Midnight runner. Back burner. Tell him the God's gonna cut 'em down. Tell him the God's gonna cut 'em down. Black and white, what's done in the dark, be brought to the light. Done in the dark, be brought to the light. Trying to bite too much of that. I don't give a crap. I just want it out of there. close. Alright, if I go in like this. Oh yeah, I got like not much left. I've kind of been messing that up because it went that way. I didn't get that tight enough. And this thing, it freaking did that to my board. I'm a little upset, but I'll fix it then. Oh yeah, it's whatever. It's a tough one. Jeez. Oh, that was a loud pop. Yeah, they're so freaking close. Like, the feeling of it changes. Be careful not to, like, just shatter the crap out of it. In fact, I might even get the smaller one. Just kind of poke a hole. It's gotta be so close. Then like a half an inch. I'll lose it eventually. It'll go right through. I'll probably get it stuck. There it is. Nope, that one felt like I'm really close. The way it dropped. Way down inside there. I'm digging a tunnel to China. Freaking crap. Guess I moved all that out of the way, huh? I've been looking at nothing. Nobody said nothing. Alright, that's through. Alright, where's this at? Now that I've split a chunk off of that, I don't really care what it did to the top, because it caught this edge here. That's kind of shitty. Oh well. It's just the top end of the hammer. Freaking jerk. Whatever. You get the idea. I don't care. It's not going to mess with the function of it. It sucks. It sucks. It's part of it. Probably gonna break the other end up, right? If I do that, probably. But we're through it. So now I just gotta go in here and clean up this last edge that I have on this end. I should have beveled that before I did that, and it wouldn't have done that. Do 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 do. Alright, well we need to taper that. Now we can clean up the ends here to fit the handle nice and snug. I'm going to take my last cut. glasses. Okay, we're gonna move this out of my way. I'm gonna take a quick smoke break and then continue. I don't like it in my bubble. I got wood chips everywhere. Non-break me. Plastic like a rubber band until you pull too hard. Why'd it turn sideways? Who knows? The last edge always pisses me off. I'll serve your freaking dinner, freaking guy. Nope, you can get that off there too. You can get that off of there. do you select a band that no one's ever listened to and put it on a list suggested to them? That's what I don't get. I don't want to drive that down into the piece of metal at the bottom, but I want to get as far down as I can. Oh, I'm splitting that top because I squeezed it so hard. Son of a bitch. Haha! It's alright, and I can fix that too. It gets tough. That's why oak is such a pain in the butt to work, man. Well, that's fine. Once I glue it, it won't crack. That sucks because I pushed too hard on it. I got too excited. I should have been more patient. That's crap. Might have to grab another piece that's a little younger. This might have been too dry. But I can break it out the rest of the way. Put glue in it, clamp it, and it won't break there again. once you glue wood, it's impossible for it to break where the glue's been. It'll break somewhere else before it'll break there. Probably because I pried on it from the top side. Broke it out. I should have flipped it over. I tried to go the whole way through, and then I grabbed that chunk and lifted it. Yeah, because I took the chisel from the other side, and as I was coming through, I was trying to drive all the way through. I completely forgot not to do that. But I can fix it, and it won't even show up. And I gotta quit doing that because I'm gonna do it to the other side now. I get excited because I'm gonna do it to both sides, and then I'm gonna have a freaking headache. So let's just do this. Freaking guy. See, if I would have continued cutting that, I would have done the same thing to this side. What to do and what not to do. Not to do that. It happens. So I may let's get my just like this router. So we'll fix it if we don't knock chunks off of it in the process. If we do, I might just separate this so I don't lose it. Then I can reattach it. Nope. I can squeeze it down. It's not going to come off. You'll never even know it happened when I'm done with it. What? It's a hole all the way through. It took for freaking ever. Gotta take a little more off of that end. Let's unwrap this. And I think I tucked it. So, there. Okay. How's it going? I got a little impatient and splintered to one end of it, but I can fix it. I'm not really worried about it. It's meant to be shattered anyway. It'll still function, and when I'm done with it, it won't look that bad. But I'm going to check fitment and pull the old one off. Should be pretty close. Good, good. Yeah. It's a lot of effort. See, here's how what I did is I drilled a hole in this to put the string in, and then I start the wrap higher than that. That way it doesn't loosen up. It did really good doing it like that. I think I shoved it in there with an awl or something, because that was pretty far in there. And I might have glued it also. Now I gotta get that off my hand. So that's just hemp, really. Natural hemp cordage. Off with the old one. And see what more has to happen to this one. I need to take a little off of this bottom end. This stuff I'll clamp with a little bit of wood glue, and it'll go back. And these are supposed to be beveled anyway. So, chiseled it off. Chisel it off. Guess I could cut it shorter. I don't really want it shorter. I mean, if I glue it, you won't be able to tell. It even cracked there, and it won't split again. It'll actually make that end stronger than the rest of it. But I very easily could just stick it in the saw and take that off. It's hard to tell where that belly is. That belly's right here. Let's get this freaking rasp in here and freaking rip the crap out of it. There we go. Much better. Sorry, probably blowing on the microphone. This happens from time to time. So, that'll work. We just need to clamp it and glue it, and it can go on tomorrow, but it'll go right up against there, like that, right? And then when you hit the angle is flat, right? So I will glue this. Nice tight fit. And that'll be ready for tomorrow when it's done. Yeah. Let's sand it up and unduck it a little bit. I gotta figure out where that wood glue is. I think it's way back over there, isn't it? What did I do with that? Or did I give my daughter, I think, used it last? But, yep, that's what it is. Pretty easy. It's actually... I'll mess with it then. But, yeah, for the most part, let me freaking put it back on here and push that into my stomach. Alright. Run a freaking thing over it real quick. Oh, I need some sugars in my coffee. I don't know what I did with it. There it is. Freaking guy. I wish I wouldn't have rushed that in and cracked that, but oh well. Get the idea. So, you should never do it that way. Oh, there we go. Something like that. That's what it is, right? That's basically right. I ain't writing Thor on it. You're crazy. It's a wooden hammer. Or a mallet. A wooden chisel mallet. But it's a nice angle for smacking it. That way you're just rotating your wrist, right? And swinging it. So it turns out, looks like a woodchuck had breakfast on my floor a little bit, and I think in my shoe. Oh, I hate chiseling oak, but I'm glad it's done. Oh, you want me to write? My handwriting sucks. It's terrible, so I can't write it on there. It wouldn't look good. It looked like a little 2-year-old wrote on it. I have terrible handwriting. You know how slow I gotta write to make it even, like, legible? It's painful. Very painful to write slow. Every time I have to fill out paperwork, I freak out, and then it makes my hands shake even more, because I know I suck. Whenever I sign my name, they're like, oh, what is that? It's a doctor's signature. That's what it is. Thor is rugged. Well, if I wrote it, I don't think it would look rugged. I don't think I have rugged handwriting. One second, I need to blow my nose. Everybody else probably fell asleep. It took so long. I'm gonna put this camera like over here a second. So, hold on. Dizziness. I gotta sweep this mess up now. It does look like someone let a woodchuck loose in my garage. Oh. Not my favorite with the chisel at all. Like, mahogany is relaxing, right? Like, actually chipping mahogany is nice. It's got a nice little crispy crunch to it when you break it. And partway through that, I realized that I was holding the chisel wrong, because it's been so long since I've done it. You're supposed to flip it around the other way, which makes it easier to sever the grains, but whatever. Like I said, it's been probably 5 years since I've done it, and I forgot. But I figured it out by the time I was done that I forgot the technique a little bit. All better. So once I got like down to the last half inch, I was like, oh crap. That's right. Because you want to have it wedged that way so you have the leverage on the very bottom of the chisel, and it helps you snap the fibers off and free them up, not pulling against the back. So as you're cutting across, you want to have the chisel like, instead of the way I was cutting was like this way, see how the bevel is, and I was going like this. I forgot that the way you're supposed to do it is you're supposed to have it this way and break it apart that way, because you're then pivoting here instead of using the whole back to pivot on, which actually pivots it up here this way. It snaps a lot easier, less effort, so you're not yanking on it so hard. But I didn't realize that till I got down to the end, and then remembered that I was doing it incorrectly. So once I figure out what my daughter did with my wood glue, because she probably used it on a project, I'll fix that little chunk, bevel the ends, because if I leave it here it'll splinter the ends. I just got home. Chillin'. What's up, man? Oh, haha, so it's Thursday. Time to write Thor on it. The Mitsu is worthy to hold his whatever. I don't know what that. I don't know how to pronounce that. nice. You can really freaking, it's so light you can swing this thing effortless. It fits perfect on my hammer rack. This is actually my favorite one. And I swing this so much. What I did is I put a stainless wrap on it. This was a hammer my great grandfather had, because he used to be a blacksmith. And I love this handle. This was a handle he made, because he had a lot of hickory blanks for tool making and stuff. So I've done everything to not destroy. I don't let anybody use that hammer. I let one person use the hammer, and they missed, and they cracked it just slightly on the end of the handle, and I've never let anybody use it since, because I don't want it damaged. But yep, something to that effect, right? This thing like auto adjust, like why did it do that to the lighting? Does it always do that, or did it just recently start doing that? Because I feel like it blinked, right? Ever since I put, this is the new camera. Like it does weird stuff with the lighting, isn't it? Or no, this is the old camera. But ever since I put like the newer camera on, the video's been weird. I don't know. Can be frustrating from time to so old hammer. It wasn't much left to it. I mean, I really beat the crap out. This one was what was left of the old head, and it was that size, right? Yeah, exactly that size. Because you can see my marks from where I marked, like this one, still on the top of this one. Wow, oh yeah, yeah. It held up till I improperly used it on car stuff, because it was not designed for car stuff. It was designed for woodworking only. And the moment I used it, I forget what for, that was when she had enough. It just totally destroyed it, but I didn't care. I just wanted to get the job done. So that's what I was like. I figured I'd have to make a new one. See, birch won't splinter like oak does. And honestly, if I came in here, I might do that too. I could come in here with a groove and do a metal wrap on it to keep the fibers from opening up, and it wouldn't split like that. I might do that. Just all I gotta do is cut a groove and put like 4 or 5 wraps of copper around it, and then I can't do what the other one did. Did you hammer a spark plug in it? No, I hit something sharp. I can't remember what I needed it for, but I know I didn't want to use my lead hammer, because whatever I was swinging at, it was going to destroy that. Oh, that's what it was. I was using it to remove an intake manifold. Sometimes intake manifolds, the intake gasket will get stuck, and they just need a little persuasion, right? But I don't want to sit there and I don't want to pry on it with a screwdriver. I don't want to smack it with a hard steel hammer or anything like that. And I didn't want to swing as much weight as the lead hammer had. So I used the wooden hammer. And it only took 2 smacks, and it popped. But in those 2 smacks, that sharp corner cracked the end of the hammer, I think is what it was. So, what's so funny? Did you hammer a spark plug? Yeah, that's how I install spark plugs, with a wooden hammer. I've used a rubber mallet on cars. I did use the rubber mallet on that intake. It didn't work. Yeah, but no, the wooden hammer made quick work of it because customer dropped it off. It's one of those customers that drops stuff on the weekend and needs it by Monday, and they drop it off on a Sunday, so you barely have enough time to get it done. It was one of those jobs. So I'm really, well, at least it's cheap to make a new wooden hammer. Yep, free wood. Free wood. Um, I might do that sword thing that Fate and I were talking about, because I have plenty of metal to do something like that. I think that'd be pretty freaking cool. I just have to go through Twitch's guidelines and see if it's alright for me to do something like that, or if that would be, yeah. Yep. Like, so that like one game I play, um, they have like a lot of cool swords, right? And I thought it'd be neat to make like a replica, but I guess technically wouldn't be a replica. I guess it would be like um, it'd still be a replica, though. Really, you're not supposed to be using it for things like that, but I guess if you needed to, you could. But it's pretty cool. It's like a one-edged blade. Um, not really big on the handle design. Looks a little cartoony, but I do like the wrap, so I might just refine the cartooniness a little bit into a more detailed version of it to make it forged in fire is fine. On cable TV, would Twitch have a problem with an educational stream and how to make a sword? I don't know, because I'm like, you're not supposed to like show guns or anything like that, right? And that's a weapon, so I just want to read the guidelines, I guess, if I can find them, and make sure, like, because obviously, um, you wouldn't, I don't know, just in case. Maybe I'll do a thing and people can donate to get a chance to win it or something, maybe, or I don't know. Or if someone wants to, it's going to be a lot of hours in it, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to give it away. Yeah, I'd be interested in knowing. Yeah, yeah, I'll have to look. I just gotta read through it and see if there's like a way to do it without pushing anybody's buttons. Um, I would think, because it's kind of like a cosplay thing, right? Like, really? Kind of. I don't think I'd want to carry that thing around all day. Because it would be legitimately like you're holding the real thing. Um, I don't think you want to walk around. I think that would be a workout, honestly. If you want to work out, carry a carry that one sword that I used with the one chick. Carry that around all day. You'll be freaking ripped. That claymore that's probably 160-pound sword. Like, that girl would have broader shoulders than me. She'd probably throw me on her shoulder and carry me away. 160 pound. Yeah, just by looking at the metal and the thickness and the layout of it, it probably is close to that, right? If it was steel. You obviously wouldn't make a sword like that out of aluminum. One, it wouldn't have the weight. Two, if you made it out of steel and it weighed 160 pounds, like a claymore, once you get it swinging, you're not stopping it. It would take down small trees, right? Pretty quick. Probably with that blade, that was roughly like a 1-inch edge, I think. It's basically a giant axe, right? Even the handle has to be, yeah, I think it is about 160 pounds. I mean, you could lighten it up with a grid work underneath the blade, which would be cool because it has like a glowing insignia thing on it, and it'd be neat to light it and stuff like that. That's like, oh, dude, I could probably spend with hand tools. It'd probably take me a month to get through that whole sword. You would have to be a Viking to swing that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I think if you're going to swing a 160-pound sword, you better be weighing like 300 pounds yourself. Right? That ain't happening. I think the other one will be down closer to like a 40 pound. I don't know. Once I lay the blade out, I'll know what the other one weighs. But I like that one because I think it's called like the fillet blade, or see, fillet looks like fillet, right? I hate when people say fillet because it's spelled with a T. The English language sucks. Sumo samurai. Yeah, definitely sumo samurai. I don't think a sumo wrestler would have any problem swinging that sword. But, yeah, so I'm glad that's done. Now all my hammers are... See, I have like 4 more hammers upstairs. Have you ever made a blade? I'd like to try to make a scout knife one day. What is a scout knife? Like, yeah, I've made blades. I've also made other knives for like fine woodworking. We make blades, and it's like a marking knife. And basically, you don't use, when you do fine woodworking, you don't really use a pencil because that edge is so wide and it's not precise. But a blade is dead on. So you use a marking knife, and it severs the fibers, so when you go to cut it, it's a super clean cut, right? Seamless. So I've made a couple. I used to make throwing knives when I was a kid. Different things like that. But I'm not gonna sit there and beat a whole freaking blade out like a sword because I don't have a long forge for it. So it's gonna be a flat stock cut. And That's probably what it'll end up being. I'm not sweeping this up right now. Cutting the 4-inch mortise through that block of wood was a pretty lengthy process. Only one I want to make is a Tom Ron Jr. knife. Is that like a one-sided, like it's like a flat back, right? And then it has like a rolled edge. Is that what you're kind of talking about? Like a scout knife? It's kind of like a diving knife, right? Is that what you mean? Similar to a diving knife? W. Tom Brown Jr. Never heard of it. No. Tomorrow, if it warms up, I need to get the blaster done because I'm going to start coating these parts and touching up that thing. I don't want to start too many different projects. And I need to get these fenders coated. So I might finish all that stuff up before I would start on that sword project. That'll give me the time to kind of see if it's allowed to be done or not. I have enough problems with this platform. Platforms. But kind of, but it has almost a hatchet tip. It's a nice knife, but they are expensive hatchet tip. Like a straight cut? Is that what you mean? Like, yeah, it would be cool to see you making a sword from scratch. Yeah. If I have a long enough sheet, I wish I had half-inch stock, because it's going to be hard to do that thing to scale with, I think, the material that I have, and I don't think I have a piece of half-inch that long. And I know they don't sell that. Didn't want to spend money on it. But I have to scale it out, and if they don't have it already scaled, I then have to look at it and freehand it on a piece of really big paper, which will be fun. Do you have a forge? If I turned my furnace on its side, technically, yes I do. It could be done that way. I could rotate it on its side, but the depth would only be about 24 inches. No, 28, right? And the flame is not controllable, so in a forge you would want the flame to enter the center or somewhere in 2 points. Even with like longer forges, you want it entering in 2 points. And mine enters in the bottom. Yeah, I've seen one made with a vacuum cleaner and a old wood stove. Yeah, mine is actually like, you see that tank there? It's about that size. It's a little, I think it's a little, no, it's about that size. And it's lined with refractory, and the port going in is on the bottom, and what it does is it makes like a tornado as it comes upwards, and it is pre-ignited with propane, and then it, after a certain temperature, about 1,200, then I turn on this spraying nozzle that atomizes old motor oil, and it burns motor oil, and then the temperature really climbs, because you can get about 2,300 degrees from that if you can get the air right. But nice. Again. Oh, it's plenty hot, dude. It's super, super hot. So like I just use a steel crucible when I do aluminum because it's easy to make a new one. And you can only use it about 6 times before it will scale it. Basically, it starts to slowly oxidize through the steel. But it'll vaporize aluminum cans like instantly. You can't put them in fast enough. And God forbid you miss the crucible and throw it on the side, it's gone. It's become part of the furnace. But yep, it was like one of those containers that they put liquid nitrogen in that I bought from a scrapyard, which had a double liner and insulation on it, and I cut the top edge apart and then heated the whole container to free it from the styrofoam insulation in between the 2 layers. Because it's kind of like that great stuff foam. It's nasty. It's nasty stuff. But I basically got a corn cooker and a foundry out of one container. So I use the inner liner, which is a tapered neck with an opening about that big. I'll fill it with water and put it on top of the burn pit. And I do like corn on the cobs that way. They're freaking delicious because you get a little bit of that smoke flavor in the water. It's like the best way to have corn on the cob. It's pretty cool because with that much water, like, they get rolling, dude. So you can throw about 2 dozen in there and they're just like tumbling all over the place. It's sometimes pretty challenging to catch them. It's like bobbing for apples, but with tongs. It doesn't take long at all. It's faster than doing it, well, not to heat the water, but when you throw them in, it doesn't take very long. Because there's so much potential energy there. Like if you do a big pot of water on your stove right in your kitchen, the moment you throw like a couple corn on the cobs in it, that water temperature is just like, and it freaking stops boiling. This thing, it's like, huh, and this keeps going. I think it cooks in like 6 minutes. I think on the stove you gotta cook them for like 10 to 12 minutes. We used to do them in like milk jugs, old milk jugs. That's how we used to cook corn. Old farmer style. How's your weekend been? You just got home? You said were you working? Yeah, it takes a while on the stove. We usually use a fire pit for the corn boils. All right. See, this was like a Michigan thing, so I don't know if that's like a northern technique or whatever, but maybe it's. I know some of my family was like French Canadian, so maybe that's where they got it from. I don't know. Yeah, I worked this weekend. Glad it's over. Awesome, man. Yeah, I just been doing the grind. So I'm probably gonna wrap it up here and hit the hay. That way I can get up, get cracking tomorrow. I'm glad that caught you, or you caught it. It's definitely been a thing. Yeah, thank you. Yep, I'll be at it again tomorrow after I clean up. So, hope everybody sleeps good. Stay safe. Stay away from people that are coughing. You too. Love you guys. Take care. Bye. Later.